Hi, everyone. Today I have with me a very special guest, Peter Sage. He's an entrepreneur, best-selling author, and an expert in human behavior. But I want to start with, do you think that we are wired to success? Like, do you think that these things that you teach us are natural to us? Because I feel like there's a struggle in us to kind of like point that compass in the right place. So before we break down how to be successful, do you think this is something that it's natural?
It's a very interesting question. There's no yes or no black and white answer. And for example, if I said, can everybody yeah, play the guitar? Well, everybody has the potential to play the guitar, but some people have a more natural predisposition towards it, and they're going to be more like your Jimi Hendrix or your Eric Clapton's, for example. But it doesn't mean to say that nobody can play the guitar. We all have the potential. But where does your predisposition lie? Now, the challenge is when it comes to things like self-sabotage and procrastination, we have a default setting that most people unfortunately have pointed towards negative rather than positive, towards lack and scarcity rather than abundance, to more stress more than calm. And it doesn't mean to say that it's not natural to be happy, abundant, and fulfilled. We all have the potential to learn to play that instrument. But most people's set default point, if you want to call it that, tends to be more negative for a number of predictable reasons. One of them is the environment that they put themselves into. Environment beats will over time, every time. In other words, I can teach you to be positive. I can teach you how to have really good thinking, to ask better questions, to pick yourself up when you're feeling down. But if you're hanging around with a bunch of people who are looking at life through the lens of why they're a victim or why the world doesn't work or why it's not their fault, you're going to adapt and adjust to that environment. Parallel to that, very simply, I can teach you how to be warm. I can teach you how to run on the spot or make warm soup or buy warm and wear warm clothes. But if you choose to live in a freezer, the environment's going to win over time. Yeah. So when it comes to the default setting, who you hang with or what you program yourself with is a massive part of that. And unfortunately, there are very, very few industries whose mission in life is to make you happy and successful. And I'm talking things like the mainstream media. The mainstream media is not a feel-good pastime. It's a let me get your attention by sensationalism, by triggering a fear-based response, because that's how I hook your attention. And so if you're plugged into trying to know what's going on under the guise of thinking that that's what's going on, then you are being programmed from a default setting of negative. You're being dragged to the Arctic rather than living in the sunshine. Wow. So when you say, is it natural for us to be successful? Oh, we all have the potential. You could use a parallel of the physical body. You see somebody who is obese and overweight. You see somebody who's got a very athletic body. That's not genetics. The baby that you couldn't tell when they were both born who was going to be who. It's how do you treat your body? How do you, what different habits are you building? How much do you value health? So a lot of people just don't value success. They don't value happiness. If they did, they'd go and find ways to get their happiness body back in the gym and put it into shape. Now, a lot of the time, I wouldn't say it's their fault, because it's not your fault if you're cold, if you're in the Arctic. Mm-hmm. But it is your choice to be in the Arctic. And once you're aware of that choice, you can choose to move to a warmer climate. If you know that you're surrounded by people that are negative, or you're doing negative habits like eating donuts for breakfast, or you're out hanging around with people who want to look at life through the lens of why we can't instead of how we can, then once you're aware of that, it's your choice. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. Now, it's not as easy as that. If you're in an unfulfilling relationship and you know it's your truth to leave, it may not just be as easy as saying goodbye. If you've got kids involved and there's joint finances but you need to plan your escape out of that environment. Mhm.
Yes, it's escape and it's a plan. It's like a prison break story.
I know all about that, right?
Yeah, I love that. It's because people are like, I want to get out of here, but they don't have a plan. They don't have the tools
Yeah.
be successful out of that wrong environment that they know is not right for them. You said this beautiful quote that really stick with me that says the people will never rise above the opinion of
Powerful,
themselves.
powerful quote.
And it's a huge, powerful quote, and it's something that we don't often hear. But we are a victim of that. And why do you think that is? Why do you think
So,
we don't rise above that ourselves?
society has conditioned many people to confuse and tie together two things that are never meant to be tied together, and that is your self-worth and your net worth. And when it comes to you thinking that you're not good enough unless you have X amount in the bank, nobody knows what the X is. Yeah, and when they get the X they thought it was, they need more X. Right? So that's a hamster wheel to nowhere. But if you have low self-esteem, it is a negative spiral to try to break out of, because what you're doing is you're looking for external validation. When I have enough certificates on the wall, then mom and dad will finally approve of me. When I have a successful business, then I'll be able to tell my brother that I'm as good as he is. When I
Wow.
I've lost another 30 pounds and I look good in a swimsuit, then finally people will respect whatever the blank is. Right? And it's all BS. You're looking for external validation. And if you're looking to the joy and fulfillment through external validation, I've got news for you. You're trying to find a sunset by running east. And the challenge with that is most people think it's viable because they think they can have a direct impact on that. So what do? They thought, well, I got my certificate, but I still don't feel that worthy. Oh, I need the extra certificate. I took the course, I passed the course. Now I need the advanced course. Now I passed the advanced course, but I really need the trainer course. Now I need the trainer course. It goes on. I
Yes.
need the master's, then the PhD, then the whatever. And no amount of paper on the wall is going to cover over the cracks of a broken self-esteem. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
Wow.
Right? So you can have a veneer,
Mhm.
but you put a veneer over a rotten tooth, it may look good to the outside world, but it's still going to hurt.
Yeah.
So people will never rise above the opinion of themselves is a self-limiting path that many people are looking, as I say, for the wrong strategy. They're running east looking for a sunset, and then they thought, oh, here's an advert on what I'm doing wrong. I need to buy better sneakers.
Mm.
Oh, here's a personal trainer that can get me fitter. So if I run faster east, then I'll find a sunset. And
Yeah.
they're doing all of these different things, not realizing that the entire strategy is fundamentally flawed.
Wow. And that's exactly what society wants us to do. It feels like every post out there, everything that people kind of gravitate towards is to that vacation that somebody else is having, and one day hopefully you will have, instead of like go to your backyard, have a
Yeah.
glass of wine and love it's like that moment you can recreate it anywhere. Those people don't necessarily are having a good time per se. Like a picture
No,
doesn't really quite get us there. And I feel like social media, because it's so visual, it's like your mind just really is
well,
triggered, right?
I don't call it social media. I call it anti-social media, because the algorithm that drives it is one of polarity, because polarity creates engagement, and engagement is the business model that drives social media. So
Hmm.
by design, it's designed to throw things up to you that are contentious, so you can get emotionally charged to write back on it. It's anti-social media. Plus, when it comes to the fundamental human needs of significance and certainty, or connection, it offers a sugar-coated fast track where you're essentially taking uh, a short-term hit on the narcissistic crack pipe of life, because you think that social media is the life that you have, when it isn't. It's the life you want everybody else to think you have. And the downside to that is that you don't realize that nobody else cares about your life. They're too busy trying to be worried about what they think you're thinking of their life.
Yes. If people could only understand that people really don't care, they will stop caring less about what other people think. But we're just
Yeah,
hardwired to think about what they think, what others think.
it's it, 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 it's I say hardwired. If you look at one of the principles behind it from my perspective. You have a baby attracts unconditional love because a baby is what a baby is. A baby is egocentric and it has to have attention, otherwise it will die. Yeah, it doesn't lie there at 2:00 in the morning thinking, oh, I've got colic or I'm hungry. You know something? Mom and dad's not slept well for the last few nights. I'm just going to leave it till 7 a.m. A baby doesn't think that way, right? No, it's going to scream because it needs that. And without that, there's problems. It can't fend for itself. That we know that. If a baby throws up on you just as you're going for a job interview because your partner says, oh, hold little Timmy for a second, right? It's inconvenient, but you don't blame the baby because it's what babies do, right? They get unconditional love. Now, there is a shift here. Around about 18 months, 2 years old, we call it the terrible twos. What are the tantrums that the terrible twos are throwing? Well, they suddenly realize that now there is an exchange of communication where the parent says, don't do that, and the child or the toddler does it and then gets punished. They suddenly realize love is no longer unconditional from their perspective. It is now conditional based upon behavior. In other words, the tantrums of the terrible twos are quite easy to understand when you look at it through the lens of you've got somebody who's been the center of the universe for the last 18 months or their entire life. Now they're no longer the center of the universe, but they still want to be. So if you look at our earliest memory, 4, 5, 6 years old, we've had years pre-first ever memory, conscious memory of learning that love is conditional based upon behavior. Now, I'm not saying that the love is really conditional. The parent unconditionally loves the child. But from the child's perspective, perception is reality.
Right.
And therefore, if they think, oh, if I do good things, mom and dad I get approval, connection, a sweetie, a lollipop, whatever it may be. And if I don't do good things, I'm grounded. I don't get to play with my toys. I don't get the love, connection, approval. So we're kind of hardwired for connection because we're social creatures. Wow. But we grow up with a frame of understanding that to get approval, to get validation, to get connection, to get self-worth as a human, we have to fit other people's pictures. And therefore, we spend most of our lives and the rest of our relationships projecting that through what I call swimming in goop. GOOP, the good opinion of other people. And so if you were to give an analogy of starring in your own movie, because most people don't realize that they star in a movie called the movie of their life because they're too busy being an unpaid film extra or supporting cast in somebody else's. Right? So in fact, the media love to recruit you as an unpaid extra in their big budget disaster movie rather than empower you to be a star of your own. Right? To become an unpaid rhetoric spouting adherent in the politics movie isn't going to serve you as the best actor in your own.
Absolutely.
But let's just say you're the star of your movie, and which you are. That means by definition, everybody else plays one of two roles. Either they're at best a supporting cast, maybe a spouse, sibling, partner, business partner, whatever. The vast majority of people in your entire existence are nothing more than film extras in your movie. Now, what is the definition of a film extra? I'll explain it. Somebody you're no longer thinking about when they're not in your current scene. Which is the vast majority of people that you will meet in your life. Yeah. Now, here's where the challenge starts, because we think just because we're the star of our own movie, we think everybody else sees us as the star of our movie. But of course, they're starring in a different movie, their own, which means by definition, we play one or two roles. At best, handful of people in our life, we may be supporting cast, but the vast majority of people that we often try to fit the approval pictures of, that we try to adapt our sense of behavior or temper our language or thoughts to, we are nothing more than film extras in their movie. And here's where you can unhook from goop if you're listening close enough, by understanding a fundamental truth. Most people, including on antisocial media, most people in life don't care enough about you to bother to give an opinion because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of them. And when you wake up to that reality, You don't care if you have to put makeup on to go to the supermarket because you think the cashier is going to judge you, or people are going to, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of their clothes. Yeah, or what they're buying or putting in their cart, or being judged for buying, too many bags of Cheetos, or whatever it may be. Right? Nobody cares. All right. What you want to become is free of the good opinion of other people. It doesn't mean say you don't care about them from a place of empathy, or being egotistical or self-centered. That's a values call. That's based on your level of consciousness. But if you are going to essentially subvert yourself to trying to act in other people's movies because you don't want to lose friendship, you don't want to, you're afraid of your conflict averse, you don't want to stand your truth, then you're not going to win any kind of Academy Award at the end of your movie.
Yes. At the end, that's really, even for an actor's perspective, the actor that actually wins is the one that understands deep enough that role, that character, and is free of judgment towards that role. It's like I feel judgment is such a big thing. Like, even we judge ourselves, therefore we cannot see the bigger picture. We judge the world towards us. That's why we cannot see the bigger picture. It's a huge thing.
There's two different things there that are very worth pointing out, are divided. Judging ourselves is one thing. Worrying about what the world is judging us is completely different.
Right.
Yeah. If we get past the fact that the world doesn't really care, and within 9 nanoseconds they're on to judging somebody else, then we can let go of the hooks for that. But judging ourselves is different.
Yes.
When we judge ourselves, this is what I said, people will never rise above the opinion of themselves. So if you have limited self-worth, if you have low self-esteem, if you're judging yourself by your achievements, and therefore there's never enough achievements to feel good about yourself, you're playing a game that is unwinnable. And I'll try to put it into context. If you're in a victim mode, and there's a lot of people that are, victims play the game of feel great if. Oh, I would feel great if that person did that. I'd feel great if I had the body I want. I'd feel great, if my boss wasn't such a dick. Whatever it may be. You're going to have it's feel great if it's blame and lack of personal responsibility. That's a fast track into some Prozac addicted life that you don't want to repeat. Then you have people that are saying, no, this victim thing don't work. I want to get out there, American dream. I'm going to go hustle. I'm going to go build the life that I want, because if it's going to happen, it's going to happen by me. And they're playing the game of feel great when. I feel great when I get the car, when I get the $1 million, when I get the relationship, when I get the house, the body, the world, whatever it is. But it's still running east looking for a sunset, because that game never comes. And for the very, very, very few people that achieve what they think is the level of materialistic success that they've been chasing, and it is a fraction of a percent. Now they get to the top of Success Mountain, they don't like the view, they want to jump off. Why? Because they just sacrificed years, effort, toil. They get to the end, they cash out, they're financially independent, and what do they do with the money? Right? Well, they've already sacrificed their relationship. They've missed their kids growing up. They're out of shape because they're stressed and working 1,000 hours a day. But at least now they've cashed out. They've got their golden nest egg. They're at the end of the rainbow. So what do? Why not? I'll tell you what they do. They've finally got enough money to pay for their divorce. They can buy their kids loads of crap so they think they love them again. And they can start working on trying to get their health back with more expensive personal trainers, gym memberships, or spas. It's a cosmic joke. It's the entrepreneurial joke. So playing the game of feel great when is never going to happen. You're still chasing that rabbit you can't catch by design. People that have figured this out are playing a different game. And it's the game of feel great now. Not feel great now because fill in the blank. I finally made it because I've got the relationship, because my partner loves me. But no, feel great now. But you've got no reason to feel great. That's why I feel great, because I was born as joy is my natural tendency. Go back to the baby. You got a sense, oh, why are you feeling so happy? No, but babies look at you stupid. If they understood, I'm just feeling happy. Why? No, society says you can't be happy unless you buy my new widget, unless you look or smell or dress a certain way, unless you have my, new product or, whiz bang, to make you finally fill some gap in the self-esteem ladder that you're trying to climb. So feel great now is great. Now we're human. We're going to have, you're not meant to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to be happy at my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
It's that there's a time we experience a range of emotions. But where do you live and where do you visit? So health. If you live in the gym, you can visit McDonald's once in a while. It's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you live in McDonald's, I can promise you can visit the gym once in a while. It ain't going to do anything.
It's not going to do anything either. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So where do you live? Where do you visit? So if your predominant sense of emotional grounding, the place you visit most is more happy, more upbeat, more positive. More stress, more abundance mentality than scarcity mentality, more, as I say, joy rather than stress. You're going to live a very, very different life. And that's got absolutely nothing to do with what you think is going on in the scenes of your movie. So if it is, you're always going to try to control it. And you're going to realize that the two fastest ways to unhappiness, if you want to fast track anyone trying to be more unhappy, I'll tell you a quick secret. Right? First way, try to control things you can't control. If you want to be unhappy, go run down that path. Good luck. The second, stop expecting you from other people. Everyone's in their own movie. And just because somebody's chosen to star in a soap opera right now, or a drama, or a horror show, doesn't mean to say that you telling them that stepping up and living in it's better to live in a comedy is going to have any impact. Or if you're currently in a drama and somebody comes up and says, "Oh, well, just think positive," ain't going to work.
No.
Right? No, you're in your movie until you can't think positive. You've got to become. You've got to evolve. That's down to shifting your psychology or model of the world by letting go of the good opinion of others, by letting go of playing the game of feel great if, all of that kind of stuff. Then guess what? Happiness shows up because you're not surrounding or coding yourself in the impediments to it. That makes sense?
That makes perfect sense. And it's something that, when you were explaining this baby and this unconditional love and how when teaching becomes, a burden for the future of like, okay, this negotiation of love, it's not what I'm used to, and it just scars us to a way that it really shapes us to live in the goop. When like for parents out there, how do you approach this terrible tools in terms of like human behavior as a parent? Like you have to educate the child, but how could you not get those confused?
Understood. Well, I'm not saying I have any or all of the answers here because I'm not a parent myself. I have some insights, but their opinion because I can't give advice on this. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between advice and opinion. See, advice is something that you're able to explain based upon first-hand experience with an intent to help somebody using your experience. That's devoid of commercial bias or hidden agendas. Opinion is everything else.
Yes.
And everybody's got one. So I don't have two-legged children. I have four-legged children. Okay? And everyone knows me, knows I'm a dog lover. So, but I can share some opinion based upon my experience as a dog owner.
Yeah.
I get a lot of compliments on my dogs. They've never wore a leash. They're Jack Russells. So they're bouncy little guys and girls, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. They're full of energy.
My guys, 10 kilometers a day. Otherwise, you're going to lose your curtains and your shoes. So, but I get a lot of compliments everywhere, all the time. So my dogs have never been on a leash. They've got a 50-word vocabulary, half of which on hand signals or whistles. And they are exceptionally well trained. Now, the reason for that is I lost a few dogs on the road growing up as a kid, and I swore when I'd have my own, they'd be that well trained. I'd never have to worry about traffic. And I can stop these guys mid-sprint to a cat.
Oh,
right?
Wow, that's hard.
Yeah.
That's pretty
that
ambitious.
that was the test. And Jack Russells like to chase footy cats, right?
Yes.
But yeah, that's they're exceptionally well trained. But I get questions all the time. Wow, how do you train your dog so well? How did you? In fact, actually, I get more questions about can you train my husband? Right? But when it comes to the dogs, It's positive reinforcement. Any decent dog owner understands that, right? You
True.
ignore the bad. If the puppy pees on the carpet, you don't slap it around for peeing on the carpet, because 10 seconds after it can't even associate. What you do is you pick it up off the carpet in the middle of the pee and take it outside and reward it while it's peeing outside. And next time you take it out as a routine, and every time it pees outside, you reward it. Positive reinforcement. We tend to forget that with humans and kids.
Absolutely right. It's true.
We catch everybody doing stuff wrong and then berating them and then wonder why they keep doing it wrong. See, as an entrepreneur, I've built 27 international companies in my career. Now, some have even worked, right? Some have failed majestically. Some have wiped me out. Some should have stayed ideas when I was drunk, right? And some have been international multi-million-dollar success stories. But what I learned was around staff came from my very first secretary. Her name was Lynn, many years. I was 21, 22 years old. And I was a control freak because I wanted to, I was linked to the fear, the primary fear we all have, which is the fear we're not enough.
Wow.
And I wanted to control everything, because if my staff didn't do well and the business suffered, my self-worth was linked to my net worth. Therefore, if the business dropped, it would trigger the fear of not enough and I would freak out. That was the psychological route. I didn't understand it back then. But I would berate my staff for doing things wrong. I was always on the lookout for what they would do wrong. And she came to me one day and she says, "Pete, can I give you some advice I learned from an old boss?" So I love to work for. The presupposition was she wasn't loving working for me, right? So I got my attention. She goes, "If you treat your staff right, they'll do anything for you." And I really took that to heart, and I started making some shifts, and I started catching people doing things right instead of catching them doing things wrong. Now, when it comes to raising kids, especially around that kind of age or what have you, there's a couple of distinctions that I would offer an opinion on. One is that if you're catching your kids doing things right instead of doing things wrong, great. Now, kids, by the very nature of who we are as kids, we're going to cross the line because we don't know there's a line there a lot of the time. Or we like to cross the line to see if we can trust mom or dad to
Of
how far we
course.
can push. But if you are going to not install the pattern of that conditional love leading to goop that's going to have negative consequences downstream potentially, then learn to separate a person from a person's behavior. Reward the person, separate the behavior. So if you find your kid has just done something wrong, letting them know that the behavior isn't what it is, but that they're better than that.
Right.
That they're worth more than doing stupid little things like that. Or coming in and throwing your crap all over the floor that you'd expect mum to come and clean up. That behavior isn't acceptable.
Yes.
It says, and it may be acceptable for people who don't value themselves or their surroundings as much, but we know you do because you're freaking awesome. Yeah, when you did this thing at school, when you did that, you did well here. I know who you really are, and who you really are is the kind of person that wouldn't sling all their crap over the place. Would you agree? See, that kind of thing is not like saying, "Oh, you idiot, why did you do that?" Because now you're identifying the person with the behavior and they think they're an idiot, or they're trying to battle low self-esteem now because what they really want is approval, validation, connection, and they're not getting it. And by the way, if they think they can't get it, they will start getting their significance or their connection from the opposite. Especially if there's multiple kids in the family. Let's say, you're the middle child, whatever that means. I'm an only child. So, I'm talking theory here from my side. You're a middle child. So you're not the eldest, which is significant. You're not the youngest, which gets the attention.
Yeah.
You're somewhere in the middle, and you're let's just say you're identity confused. Big topic these days. But when it comes to being able to get your sense of identity, your significance, well, you might get it by being the rebel.
Right.
Because at least their mum and dad are paying you attention.
Yeah.
You may get it by being the contrarian. You may get it by being the one that your dad shouts at you, but at least he's paying you attention because you feel invisible as the middle child. You get the idea. So there's many different aspects to it. But catching people doing things right rather than wrong, it works for dogs. I can tell you that.
It works for people too. It works
You know?
for people too, because at the end It's weird. It's like it's this thing that you mentioned, that people will never rise above the opinions of themselves. Therefore, but at least if your surrounding is a place in which they can, it's elevating you to that version of themselves that I see in you, they will double naturally down on that. And they will like
Yeah,
stop certain behavior. They're like, okay, I'm just gonna hang on to what works, what makes me feel right. Because that's the thing
yeah.
about you said once is that we know what makes us feel good. We're never confused about that. I don't know how human behavior, thank goodness it works. At least we know that if we go for a good run in the morning, even if you don't want it, at least oh, that feels good. At least you're not confused about how you feel afterwards. If you go to get a massage after like a huge workout, at least, hey, I'm not just doing this for my body, I'm actually feeling better. But the problem is,
Well,
at least we know that it feels good. It's not like we're confused about how we feel afterwards or if we wake up
it
early in the
depends.
morning. Oh, it depends too?
Depends. Depends on the pattern running. Some people feel guilty after that because they're putting themselves first instead of their kids.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Some people that are running what I call the MARTA pattern.
Mm.
And the MARTA pattern it's a simple pattern to break down. And yeah, I don't want to be gender stereotypical here, but I will be as a prevalence because it is more of a gross generalization. But the balance of probabilities, it's where it falls. And women specifically, because of their natural ability to nurture,
Yeah.
their predisposition to nurture. I mean, men, if you look at evolution, we're expendable. We're tiger food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? You get 10 guys go out to bring in the tiger and 6 come back, the human race is going to survive, right?
Yes.
50 women and 1 man, the human race survives. I mean, lucky guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you get 50 men and 1 woman, and the odds are not great.
Mm-hmm.
So from the perspective of women, there's the natural ability to nurture. Sometimes that's taken to the extreme where the avoidance of rejection, the inability to say no, thinking that if my identity as a parent is linked to how well my kids do. I mean, that's fatal, right? Because you can't control what you can't control.
Absolutely.
And so, if you think, okay, well, I need to give and give and give so that people will love me, reject me, or think I'm good enough, you're going to give from empty because you're horse trading on the wrong side of the table. You're giving away, out of 100% self-love, let's say you're running at 20%.
Right.
But you think if you give another 5% away to get 10% back, then people, if I do this for you, then you'll love me. It doesn't work that way. People are starring in their own movie.
Yes.
Right.
That's a
So
wrong
they'll be
approach.
thankful for whatever you give them, but now you're giving from them. So you're running a MARTA pattern. So now you have guilt, and guilt is the one emotion where you stand alone. You're judging yourself. You're judge, jury, executioner. It's the cancer of the human psyche when it comes to emotions. Guilt is, I've done a lot of work around guilt over the years with people, and they don't understand that guilt. If you have any kind of thoughts of guilt, what comes with that is an energy of retribution. Because if you're guilty, you need to be punished, and you'll happily punish yourself. There's no sense of deserving. There's no sense of abundance. There's no sense of joy and fulfillment. You feel guilty about anything. Now, if you've done something that you made a mistake on, guess what? Welcome to life. Yeah. Because if you are in a situation where, I call this Earth School. We're not here to get the answers right, all of them. If you're getting every answer right in class, you're in the wrong class.
Totally.
You don't get better at tennis by playing people you can beat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there has to be, by the very nature of the environment of growth, the ability to give the wrong answer as well as the right answer. We don't always get it right.
Absolutely.
Again, you're the smartest money in the room, find a smarter room. Right? So if you have done something wrong, you made a mistake, and you're carrying guilt around that, then you need to recognize that will most likely lead you to a starring in a movie that is a horror show, that is a drama, that will perpetually attract people and evidence to you that justifies why you're unworthy or should be punished, as opposed to saying, listen, traffic running, we screwed up, I made a mistake, it didn't work. What can I learn from that so that next time I move forward? And if you've got to go apologize to somebody, then go apologize to them, But here's the key. Let go of whatever they need to do without apology. Some people will refuse the apologies just so they can get leverage over the significance they hold over you.
Wow.
And so if you need somebody to accept your apology for you to let go of your guilt, you're going to be running on a hamster wheel of unhappiness for a long time. So, but back to your point about, what makes us feel good, there's certain experiences or classes of experiences. And if you chunk them into 4, and I learned this, I worked with Tony Robbins for 15 years as one of his experienced trainers. And I remember Tony breaking this down one time. It's very valuable as a frame. And a class 1 experience is something that feels good. It's good for us. It's good for the greater good. Having a massage, sex, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
A class 2 experience is something that doesn't actually feel good, but it is good for us. Yeah, getting up at 5 a.m. for a morning routine.
Right.
Yeah, for example.
Yoga class or like that.
Yoga class, exercise to when you start out, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A class 3 experience is something that does feel good, but it's not that good for you, good for others, good for the greater good. We're talking like junk food, we're talking like smoking, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the class 4 experiences, which don't even feel good, not good for you. Anger, addictions, once they've passed a certain point, now you're not even enjoying the high that you used to get. You just need to get rid of the craving that was there. So, the next shot of heroin or the next, Coke or whatever it may be, crystal meth, isn't, you're not even enjoying it anymore. Mm-hmm. So the key really is to look at joy and fulfillment, is to identify that most people are running class 3 experiences because of short-term gratification and no immediate downside. One burger is not going to make you fat. One cigarette's not going to give you cancer, but you get immediate upside, no immediate downside. Whereas you look at the class 2 experiences, going to the gym, yoga, you don't go to the gym once and get fit, you get sore.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no immediate upside and there's some immediate downside. Can you see why people gravitate towards class 3 instead of class 2?
Yeah.
But the key to life, the key to really having that level of joy and fulfillment and having the life that you deserve, being able to play that guitar using the original metaphor that we said, and being able to have that natural affinity to that spark, that effervescence of life, is to take your class 2 experiences and make them class 1. So now I get up at 5 a.m. because it's who I am. It's what I do. It's effortless. I go to the gym because I love going to the gym. Right? Because I've done it so many times, it becomes part of my identity. But most people dabble in the class 2, think screw that and go back to class 3. They never get through that little pain barrier, if you want to call it that. Mm-hmm. And then they get seduced by the instant gratification. So instead of now 1 burger, it's 3 burgers a week.
Yeah.
Now I'm not running 3K on the treadmill. I'm putting on 3K on the scales.
Yes. So that's interesting. That's a really good way to break it down and to see where you stand and how can you just, because I feel like I trained ballet for many years and I know what persistence and waking that when you train your mind to understand that you're not going to get the results right away. You have to wait for years to be even on point shoes or even like do a turn without breaking an ankle.
Yeah.
The proper way that people will clap and feel like, wow, I want to spin like that. It takes time. And from a very young age, I understood that things take time. And that really freed me from that rush of getting to the top, or from that rush of like passing levels of happiness, or just bringing things to my life that would try to get me there, bring people to my life thinking those people would get me there. I just it's the process really what makes it okay. And that doesn't mean that it has to be joyous every day. I just every time we think of like, oh, the process is great, no, you're gonna have a bad day one day, like a bad class that you don't feel 100%, you feel 50, but you still went there and you're gonna try tomorrow. It's the big picture, right? What we have to focus on and take it as it comes, right?
You're touching on something which is a passion of mine, and not ballet, but the never done the class, to be fair.
I was like, oh my God, Peter, I didn't know you had a background in ballet.
No.
I mean, you guys have beautiful dancers there.
I'm sure. But for me, there is a massive distinction between knowledge mastery and self mastery. And the vast majority of people today are chasing knowledge mastery, thinking it'll lead to self mastery. And it doesn't.
No.
Yeah, it never will. As I say, it's an external quest to fill an internal gap. Never the twain shall meet. And so if you're learning new skills in order to get certainty, you're not going to find it. You're just going to have more skills. Whereas what you're talking about in terms of, look, I know I'm going to have a bad day, but I'm going to show up anyway.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because I kept my word to myself. You're building self-mastery. And that you can take forward into any kind of area that if you require skills in that area, you're free to learn. I just landed here in Croatia about 2 hours ago. I wasn't going to get on the plane unless the pilot had been to pilot school.
Yes.
Right. That's
that's a good thing.
Certain knowledge mastery is required.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of people and kids who grow up dreaming of being a pilot that never make the grade because they don't have self-mastery. They don't have what it takes to stick it out. They don't have the self-discipline. They don't have the awareness to not beat themselves up when they have an off day. But say it's part of the course. So say, listen, the alarm's going off at 5 and I'm tired. So your mind is trained to do something very, very well. And that is to justify your behavior to be in alignment with your emotional state. It's a genius at it. In other words, the alarm goes off at 5 and you're tired. Its job is to find the perfect excuse to press the snooze button. It's now, whether you listen to it or whether you don't, has more to do with self-mastery. But just know that the mind's going to do it. If you're angry, it will find the reason why you shouldn't apologize, why it's the other person's fault. It's his job. The mind's job is to justify your behavior to be in alignment with your current emotional state. So self-mastery is about being bigger than your emotions.
Yes.
And if you can outgrow that rather than be this giant reactive machine, that's how most people are. They're a walking jukebox that everybody else can put money in and play and press the button. Oh, I want you to be angry. I just say these words, press these buttons, and you play the record of being angry.
Wow. That's it.
It's predictable. So grow up, take charge of your own playlist.
Yeah.
And if you're relying on exterior people, things, circumstances, scenarios, events in order to control your internal emotional state, you're never going to have the level of self-mastery required to find joy when people are crying, to have certainty when people are freaking out, to be able to pivot when people are paralyzed with fear. And that's the way to go. And if you think you're going to learn that in another book, course, workshop, online program, whatever, you're not.
No.
Not unless it's focused on self-mastery, emotional maturity, rather than the knowledge mastery so many people are obsessed with right now. Right? Here's another tip for people on that path. One of the greatest days in a human being's life, some people aren't going to like this, is the day you finally become okay not being liked.
True. That's beautiful. That's deep, though. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Because what are we breeding right now? An entire generation of I'm easily offended. Well, how about building a culture of high self-esteem so that no matter what somebody says, you don't get offended? I think we can turn society around to a lot better corner with that than trying to placate to the lowest common of offended denominator.
Yeah. It's we're living those very fragile, touchy moments that it's everybody's so afraid to even express themselves because they're afraid to trigger things that are gonna completely break down relationships and cultures and even jobs and the environment and job environment. It's a very tricky moment. And you're right. It goes down to, how do you feel about yourself?
What you said upset me. No, it didn't. What do you mean? No, you chose to be upset based upon what I said. That's the accurate statement. So I get on stage in front of 10,000 people. I'm speaking at a 4,000 person event next month. And I know that if I crack a joke, I could have half the people fall out of their seat laughing and half the people walk out in disgust. It's not the point of discernment theirs based upon their internal model of the world. Well, who's responsible for that? Me or them? You made me mad. No, I didn't. You made yourself mad based upon your internal model of the world. Somebody else took that and be happy. So where is the level of personal responsibility? Because anything outside of that frame, you're going to be a victim.
Right.
And hey, we all have free will. You have total free will to want to be a victim. Go star in that movie if you want, and give me a shout and tell me how it's going. A year from now. Good luck. But the great thing about truth is that it stands firm. You see, you can't lie over the top of fundamental levels of truth. Now, when I say truth, the truth with a capital T on the big questions is we don't know the truth. So let it go. It's above our pay grade. And whatever belief system you have around that serves you, more power to you. Not here to judge, criticize. But when it comes to understanding that, let's take communism as an example. We tried that. We know what happened. The consciousness of the people exploded into reality. Look at the Berlin Wall. We didn't shoot it down. When you look historically through a lens of where the dominoes fall, the reality dictates itself. And if we're going to go 20 years ahead and look back about how we're trying to mollycoddle the next generation, you'll be able to see what happened to that experiment. And I'm not here to judge whether it's right or wrong. But I will tell you that history will stand firm if you take away the subjective viewpoint of it. Data doesn't lie. We're now seeing a lot of data coming out as to what really went on for the last 2 years. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But and people say, well, what do you mean by that? That's not me saying that. That's the data saying that. It's self-evident.
Peter, this has been such a very profound and deep, and I don't know. It's such a large. It's exactly what I told you at the beginning. I don't know how to put you in a place, and it definitely should not be in a box. And the reason is because, like you said, self-mastery is like being just aware of the big picture and everything that comes with it. And I feel like you yourself, have taken on life with that, and just waking up every day to learning, to growing, to lecturing, to mentoring, to it's just everything together. That's another thing that I wanted to kind of touch is that self-mastery has a lot to do with feeling like you're a beginner, and understanding. Feeling like you're a beginner, feeling like you're listening, feeling like you might not know. And that's how you hear some people like, the more I know, I don't know. And it's because that self-mastery, it's the more you feel like you're self-mastering yourself, the more you feel like there's so much more to work on, right?
It's a journey. The Buddha wasn't born enlightened.
Yes.
He was born Prince Siddhartha. I don't have all the answers. I don't want to have all the answers.
It's fun.
If I suddenly became the all-knowing, majestic, enlightened being that is at the end of the game, then I'd expect to get hit by a bus tomorrow because I've graduated Earth school. There's no reason to be here. No. And I don't want to. I don't leave my dogs here. I'm just trying to piece together things from my perspective and on some of the great mentors and teachers I've had the privilege of studying under, and some of the experiences I've been uniquely blessed to be able to have, and try to figure it out like we all are. And if I can help people become more than rather than less than because they cross my path, if I can try to learn from the mistakes that I make, so hopefully I don't make them as many times again, then I'm just trying to do the best I can as a guy figuring it out as we all are. So I'm no more special, I'm no more clever. I have a unique perspective based upon my angles. Everybody does for themselves. But if I can give a little bit of an insight into areas that most people sometimes don't have the opportunity or the time or the opportunity to be able to study, and that can benefit them, then that's why I'm here. And I really, really value and appreciate the opportunity for me to be able to share that.
I know. And that's what I love about, your message and the messengers is that you really, you're living the movie of your life. And sometimes you share your movie with others and parts of it. And you say, hey, this is a rewind that I've learned, and you guys kind of watch it, listen, care. And I just want to say thank you for really taking the time and keep spreading that word with that intention. It's really what makes you approachable and easy to take on this hard messages, because they're not easy to take in. It puts you in the spot and it makes you really reassess, what you're doing wrong. And the only way we can assess that is like you said, child's like, you're bad, bad, bad. You're like, hey, you're in the right path, but look at this mirror. It's like reflecting not what you're looking, not where you want to go. And that is such a great way to empower people to go forward, empower people to be like, don't stay there, just keep walking, but just understand that this path is not the one you intend to take. Because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't feel like people want to wake up every day and just take the wrong path. I feel like it's just not intentionally. I don't know if, I really don't know if it is, but I just love the fact that you're just showing a better way, a simpler way to carry on, because it would take the same effort.
Burn
Right?
the same calories.
You've burned the same calories, the same. I mean, it's the day still has 24 hours for the ones that choose the wrong path, and for the people to, that they choose the most effective path. It's all the same journey at the end. Thank you, Peter, so much for
Great.
taking this hour and share, collecting and growing seeds with you. I feel like everybody has a garden and we can pick seeds from others to plant it in ours and then take care of it, water it. That doesn't mean that they're going to grow into beautiful trees. You have to nurture that. And that's kind of like the journey of this podcast. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. No, it's been amazing, and I love what you're doing. I love the message you're bringing, and the mission and the path that you're on. The ability to influence the people that you do in the way that you are is it just proves that the heart that you have and the intention you have is touching lives. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be a small part of that.
Will do. Thank you so much. Stay safe and you stay in touch.
Always.